of VMUG, I'd like to welcome you to today's webcast, Migrating to the Cloud, How to Map to Most Optimal Cloud Resources from a Cost, Performance, and Security Standpoint, presented by Garima Thakcham of Akasia Cloud. Thank you for participating in today's webcast and for your continued support in the Global VMUG program. Before we begin, I have 3 quick housekeeping items. First, today's webcast will be recorded and available for on-demand. You'll receive a follow-up email with the on-demand link from today's webcast, so be looking out for that. Second, a Q&A session will follow today's presentation. All questions will need to be entered in the question window near the bottom of your GoToWebinar screen. Third, there will be a short online evaluation that pops up as you exit the webcast. Please make sure to take a minute and let us know what you thought of today's session and what you might like to see going forward. All right, let's get started. I would like to introduce you to Garima Thakcham, founder of Akasia Cloud. Garima, I would like to turn things over to you.
Thank you so much, Annie, and once again, welcome everybody to this webcast. In addition to myself, I also have the CTO of our company, Gautam, on hand. So feel free to add in any technical questions you might have. We should be able to address all your questions today. So like Annie said, today we'll be talking about migration planning with a focus on how to pick the most optimal resources from a cost, performance, and security standpoint. First, a little bit about our company. We were founded in 2014, and we're headquartered in Santa Clara in California. We also have an office in Pune in India, where most of our developers are. We are venture-backed. We are funded by Thai Launchpad, as well as a couple of angel investors. A little more about us. We're a software company. We build SaaS solutions that enterprises use to plan for the cloud. And as of today, customers have used our SaaS platforms to model over 300,000 virtual and physical machines for migration to the cloud. And there you have the logos of some of our customers and partners. The bulk of our revenue comes from systems integrators, consultants, and other channel partners who use our solutions to model their clients' environments for the cloud. We also have a significant number of end-user enterprises, such as Apache, Haveberry, Chevron, MoneyMart, AQMesh, Paperclip, and many more. And these are end-user companies that essentially buy our licenses online, do the discovery, the mapping, and the modeling for their own environments. The way we help our clients is by discovering the infrastructure on-premise and then showing you the equivalent as well as right-sized resources in the cloud for what we've discovered. And then the final report shows you the costs associated with that on-prem workload if it were to run in any of those major clouds: Amazon, Azure, Google, IBM, Oracle, or VMware Cloud on Amazon. And our differentiator is that we're able to do all of this mapping and modeling in just 30 minutes to a few hours. So let's take a look at what is actually involved in selecting a cloud platform and the resources within a cloud platform. So you, as the IT architect or the IT manager, would first have to look at the technical considerations. In other words, you'll have to narrow down the type of the cloud project. So you'll have to think about, are you deploying a new environment in the cloud, or are you migrating legacy applications? And if you're migrating legacy applications, are you going to be refactoring them or rehosting them? Next, are you thinking about a hybrid environment or a DR setup, where your on-prem environment talks to the cloud environment and vice versa? And then, is your application a dev test environment or is it a business application? The answers to all of these questions has a significant impact on the type of resources you would pick in a cloud and even the type of cloud you would pick. The other option you have to think about is the cloud technology itself. Are you looking at infrastructure as a service, or IaaS? In other words, are you thinking of renting infrastructure on which you would drop your application and run it that way? Or are you thinking of platform as a service, or PaaS? This would be an environment where you're thinking of just invoking an application in the cloud, whether it's a web app or machine learning or ERP or even databases. These are available as applications you can rent, and you don't have to concern yourself with the infrastructure supporting that app. You might also be thinking about cloud-native solutions, given all the innovation that's happening in cloud these days. So you might think of something like serverless computing or containers in the cloud, etc. So you will have to narrow down the type of cloud technology you would like. And once you've narrowed those two subjects down, then you review the cloud offerings, the capability, the performance characteristics, the security, and the cost. And this is where you will bring in a cloud planning tool, and this is where we really shine. In addition to the technical considerations, you will be evaluating business considerations in terms of what cloud you pick. And there you'll be looking at cost, and that's again where we are able to help. Some clouds are more expensive than others, but it all depends on the profile of the application. So you do have to model a particular application across different clouds to figure out which one is cheap. And one application may be inexpensive in a certain cloud, but more expensive in a certain other cloud. But these are the things that you will figure out during modeling. The cost is one, and then we found the relationship the enterprise has with the parent company is a huge indicator of which cloud they pick. And we found out that Google Cloud Platform is the cost leader across the board for most applications. But even then, a lot of enterprises pick Azure or Amazon because they have a close relationship with those companies, or even IBM or VMware in Amazon, which is growing in popularity these days. The other item is skills availability. So migration to the cloud is one task, but then you have to manage that workload in the cloud, and you need to have the right skills for it. And you may already have personnel that is well-trained to manage AWS environments, and so that may be an indicator for you to pick AWS over the others. Or you may have invested in a lot of VMware admins in your environment, and that could be a reason for you to pick VMware Cloud on Amazon. Don't underestimate the costs involved in managing the environment and retraining and so on. And this is an area that we highlight in our modeling tool as well in terms of skills of the administrators. And then finally, geography. So you may have a requirement for your workload to run in a geography, either because it's closer to your data center or because that's where the majority of your clients are. And you will have to take a look at the cloud platform vendors and then see if they do have a data center in your geography or not. And this is also an area where we are able to help out. So quite a lot of moving parts in terms of selecting a cloud platform and resources. And I thought it'd be very useful to drill down in just two of these cloud options, Amazon and Azure, clearly two of the leaders in today's market. And we created this chart for a client, and I thought it'd be very useful to also share it with you all in this webinar. If you look at the characteristics on the left-hand side and then see whether Amazon or Azure is the leader in that characteristic, you can see that Amazon is the leader for startups and open source developers, as well as Unix and Linux shops. And then if you go down a little bit and see where my cursor is, for PaaS applications, in particular open source applications, Amazon is the leader. Whereas for enterprise-centric PaaS applications, Microsoft is the leader. And then if you scroll lower, in terms of geography support, it looks like Microsoft is a leader there. And when it comes to range and maturity of services, just given the lead that Amazon has in terms of how long it's been around, Amazon is the leader there. Also in terms of migration, Amazon these days is spending a lot of time in prioritizing on-prem migration. So you can see, given these characteristics, it looks like Azure is becoming more and more popular with enterprise applications, whereas Amazon, given its lead in test and dev and open source, continues to be more attractive for open source environments. So this is just the level of detail that we look into in terms of comparing clouds. Now, there's a lot more detail here that we're not going to go into this webinar. Our CTO did record a webinar on this particular detail, Amazon versus Azure, and it's available on our website, akasiacloud.com, and we encourage you to go and watch that. So let's drill down a little bit from a workload perspective. What is the problem? So every enterprise out there is planning for the cloud, but they're concerned about three issues when it comes to migrating their workloads: cost, performance, and security. In terms of cost, they are concerned about the cost in the cloud. Will the environment be cheaper in the cloud? What are the most optimal resources in the cloud? And also, there's a perception that there are surprises, there are cost surprises in the cloud. So they are also cautious about willy-nilly migrating workloads in the cloud because they know that they may be slammed with unexpected costs. Second is performance. The cloud is somewhat of a black box when it comes to performance. You may invoke a certain template, it'll give you a certain performance, but at other times of the day, it'll give you a different performance. So enterprises are cautious about the performance of workloads in the cloud, and they're beginning to ask more questions around it and expect more stability in terms of performance. And then finally, security. Security is rising as a huge priority in terms of migration planning. So, and this is in particular relevant given the recent security breaches and exposures that were in the news around Amazon. So enterprises are asking what they need to do to keep their cloud environment as or more secure than on-prem. So let's take a look at your situation. So you have an on-premise workload, and that's been carefully tuned, and the variables around cost, performance, and security are known to you. They're well known to you. They've been highly tuned. You are in control of these variables. And then now you're thinking about migrating that workload to the cloud. And in the cloud, not only do you have a variety of platforms to choose from, you have a variety of options within the cloud itself. And each of these is in some level unpredictable in terms of cost, performance, and security. So being able to make a manual mapping exercise is close to impossible, just given all of the resources. And we thought it'd be fun to take a look at Amazon EC2 and examine their options. EC2 alone has over 100 products. And if you count their variations, licensing and discounts, you're looking at parsing through 114,000 options. But in addition to EC2, you'd be looking at other resources within Amazon that you'll likely order, such as load balancers, monitoring, ingress, egress, etc. So then you're looking at another 300,000 options that you add on to these 114,000 options. And now, if you were to expand your mapping beyond Amazon, just to make sure that you were examining all the options you have, now you're looking at over 700,000 options. And the permutations and combinations around all of these are rapidly growing and changing. And an interesting factoid here was we looked at our database when we were conducting a modeling exercise, and we found that our algorithm was parsing through 1 million records in an attempt to locate the most suitable and most optimal resource for that workload that we were modeling. So the bottom line is it's manually impossible. And just given the explosion of resources and combinations available to you, you do have to do careful modeling and planning before you choose the resources you pick for your migration. And this is a good time to just highlight our process, our cloud planning process. So if you start on the left-hand side, there's your on-prem environment. The first step we take within Akasia's SaaS solutions is discovering the on-prem environment. And the discovery we have are of two types, quick discovery or deep discovery. Both of these discovery models take a look at the on-prem environment, the resources, the configurations, as well as the utilization. Quick discovery takes just a few minutes. An environment that has, say, 2,000 VMs, we can discover that in 5 minutes or less. Deep discovery takes a little longer. It can take days or weeks, depending on the depth of discovery you want to do. And deep discovery has additional details that it discovers, such as application dependencies. Once we've discovered the environment and ingested it, then what we do is map it to the cloud resources. And this is done in our architecture that also pulls the latest cloud price books, all of the line items and all of the latest prices into our mapping algorithm. And our mapping takes into account the closest match for what we've discovered on-prem in terms of cost, performance, and security. We also map network and I/O characteristics that we've discovered in the on-prem environment. And we give you two lists of equivalent and right-sized cloud resources. And then we allow you to compare all the 6 major clouds so that you can clearly see for your on-prem workload what the costs will be for running them in all the major clouds. After you do the mapping, the next step is modeling the new architecture. So once you're migrating a workload to the cloud, not only are you looking at the machine supporting that application, but also looking at additional cloud resources you will order. So you might order things like load balancers. You may want to invoke PaaS applications. You may want to do additional what-if analysis. So perhaps you're changing your architecture from one big virtual machine supporting the workload to a horizontally scaled architecture where you want to replace that one big machine with a number of smaller VMs with a load balancer in front of them. And we allow for all of this what-if analysis to be done within the Akasia platform. And then finally, you get the cloud bill of materials. This is a report that you can save and then pass it along within your team for further discussion or review. And if once you're ready to do the migration, you can take this report and export it into a provisioning tool and do your single-click migration as well. So this is a quick view of the steps in Akasia's cloud planning process. And I'll also show you the live demo of our product so that you get to see it. Our offerings, like I mentioned, we build SaaS solutions. We have 2 SaaS solutions that our customers use. The first one is called the Akasia Infrastructure Modeler, or AIM. And AIM is used in lift and shift migration planning. And like I described in the previous slide, with AIM, we do the on-prem discovery and map to cloud. We take into account hidden costs, such as network and I/O, just to make sure that any cost surprises in the cloud are reduced. And the AIM report is essentially a cloud bill of materials, and this can form the starting point for your migration. Our second product is called the Akasia Cloud Modeler, or ACM. And what this is a SaaS application that allows you to plan for new cloud deployments. So this is not a lift and shift, but in other words, it's a new cloud deployment. And this is essentially a wizard-based view into modeling a new environment where you pick your compute, network storage, your applications, your monitoring support, etc. And then ACM gives you the final bill of materials for all the different clouds. And then finally, we have cloud transition services, or ACEs. And these are our experts who have built a lot of expertise around cloud resources, costs, configurations, best practices. So our experts can do the entire cloud assessment for you, or they can be on hand to answer questions as the expert that you can lean on. So these are our offerings, 2 SaaS solutions and our experts. And I will be giving a demo of both of our SaaS solutions. Very quickly, I want to point out the benefits for systems integrators and consultants. Like I mentioned, the bulk of our revenue comes from our channel partners. And we found that our products are being converted into ideal pre-sales and pre-migration tools. And this is because we're able to do rapid and granular RFP generation. In other words, we provide a clear picture of cost in the early phase of the project that our partners include in their RFPs. And this becomes a differentiator for them. Most RFPs are structured to have 3 to 12 weeks of discovery and analysis before the client is presented with predicted cloud costs. But with Akasia, you can deliver the predicted costs on the same day. And what this really helps is reducing the sales cycle from months to a few days. And this is mainly because the clients are decisive, because they get to see actual granular real-time data from Akasia's cloud modeling, and they're able to move forward with that data. The third bullet there, these days with the explosion of cloud options, you have to have an automated process to be able to do the mapping, and that is exactly what we do. So we did have channel partners that had teams of people who were dedicated to wrangling spreadsheets to be able to provide cost estimates for their clients, and they quickly gave up that model. And now those teams of people simply use our products to be able to do the modeling, and they're able to serve a lot more clients with the new inclusion of our products. And then finally, with the last bullet there, this is an important point. A lot of clients come to us and say, hey, we'd like to move workload X to the cloud, and help us with it. But when we do the discovery, we find that there are other workloads in that environment, in the client's environment, that are also excellent candidates for moving, and it's cost effective for them to move those workloads. So we're able to guide the clients, and through us, our partners are able to guide their clients in terms of additional opportunities to save costs by migrating to the cloud. These are our customers and partners, and like I mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of systems integrators, managed service providers, consultants who are doing cloud assessments and managing the clients' on-prem environments and have to answer questions around cloud costs and whether or not they should migrate. And they use our products internally to be able to answer questions for their clients, and we have a number of end user customers as well. Our technology partners are the major cloud vendors, so we have tight relationships with all of them, and we are included in their partner program and also several competencies, and we're conducting a lot of joint marketing with many of them as well.
You'll find us in the marketplace.
That's right, and so Gautam just reminded me that we're on the marketplace. So we're in the marketplace for Amazon Web Services. We've integrated with them where you can order our product licenses through Amazon, and the bill simply comes within your Amazon bill. So that's a huge amount of integration that we did with Amazon, and it's a significant convenience for all of our customers. In addition, we are partners with Xenos in environments that need significant discovery to be done. We also integrate with other solutions. So we have clearly defined APIs, and we've integrated with Metron's capacity management product. Their dashboard is the front end, and there's a button that says calculate cloud costs, and that when somebody clicks that button, it invokes our product, and all the analysis and modeling is done by our algorithms, and the report is submitted to their front end for display. In addition, we are able to white label our products. So one example is Double Horn, where we've swapped out our branding for their branding. And so it's quite easy for us to also white label as well. So with that, I'm going to now jump into our demo. So you would access our SaaS solution by going to saas.akasiacloud.com. And once you log in, it's free to create an account and log in. And once you log in, you're presented by both of our solutions here, AIM, which is for lift and shift modeling, and ACM, which is for new cloud deployments planning. And so let's take a look at AIM first. All right, let me log in once again. So we're taking a look at AIM. The first step here is to discover the on-prem environment, and you would do that by clicking on source data. And here you can see there are 5 environments that I've already discovered. If I had to discover a brand new environment, I would download the remote collector. So that's how you would discover your environment. To download a remote collector, it's a little Java application that runs in your environment. And the collector works on any type of environment, VMware or non-VMware or physical as well. And essentially what it does is the collector logs into vCenter. So you provide the vCenter credentials, and then it pulls the data it needs and puts it into these 4 CSV files. These CSV files are human readable, and the reason why we architected it this way is a lot of enterprises are extremely cautious about the data that leaves their environment and goes up into a SaaS solution. So here, before the data is actually ingested by a SaaS solution, the IT architect or IT manager has the ability to read the files and make sure that there's no sensitive data in the files before it's uploaded. With VMware, I also want to point out that we have the ability to ingest data from RV tools. RV tools are a very popular open source monitoring tool, and a lot of VMware environments have it running in their environment. And if they have RV tools running, we're able to simply ingest data from RV tools. For non-VMware environments, such as KVM or Hyper-V, we're able to also discover that environment. And for physical environments as well, we can provide you with scripts or connect into the CMDB that has all of the data. In addition, if you have the data available manually to be uploaded, you can download our template file and insert your data there and then upload it. So the point here is that we are really flexible as far as the discovery is concerned. We're able to discover virtualized environments, physical environments, legacy environments, and then we ingest the data. In this case, I'm going to take a look at this particular data set here. It is a large data set, so I'll be able to show you a lot more of our features. So here we go. So this is the data set that we've discovered. It has 108 hosts. This is the physical infrastructure supporting those hosts. Those hosts are running 1,675 virtual machines, of which 1,443 are powered on, so many are powered off. Here is the network and I/O detail, and we do like to point this out because these are the culprits why you have hidden costs in the cloud, and so we like to lay them out so that you can factor those in. You have the on-prem costing here, and no matter what you discover, our tool applies a default cost value to it, but you can go to edit source costs here and edit it further to make it more applicable to your environment. So here we have the total cost associated with the host and the VMs, and then we show you the spare capacity. Here is the meat of our product. So here you can see what it is costing on-prem on a monthly basis. And if you were to migrate all of those VMs to Amazon, what it would cost you, or to VMC or Azure, etc. What you can also do is swap out the region. So as a rule, we've selected US East as a default, but you can swap it out. You know, maybe you are looking at a government client. So you can choose US Gov, and that becomes the region for which the cost planning is done. I'm going to switch it out to maybe US West. That's where I am, and you saw the cost changing. So interesting detail right here. As you scroll lower, we show you the spare capacity. And this is important because on-prem, you've already paid for your environment. You don't particularly mind if there's spare capacity, but you really don't want to be carrying over that idle capacity to the cloud where you're paying on an hourly basis. So we show you that there's so much spare capacity and you have the opportunity of saving $10,680 per month. So after looking at this dashboard here, which is a high-level view of everything we've discovered, you will go into Manage Groups. And the Manage Groups area in our tool mimics the notion of migration waves. Most enterprises don't migrate their entire data centers, full hubs, to the cloud. They pick workloads and hosts or OSs, and they migrate their environment in waves. And so we allow you to create modeling groups to mimic those waves. Now here, another useful feature of our product is the predefined grouping. So we create predefined groups with everything that we've discovered. So it's by host, and you can pick a host and add it as a new group, or OS versions. So you might say, everything that's running Windows Server 2008, I'd like to migrate those applications to the cloud. So you can add that as a group, or subnets. So you have applications clustered within a subnet. So you can move all the VMs associated with a subnet as a group. Tags. So if your environment uses tagging to identify applications, that makes it very convenient for us in our quick discovery to be able to just pick an application for modeling. Data centers. So in this instance, the vCenter is managing 2 data centers, so you can just pick any one of those data centers if you are migrating it to the cloud, or clusters. So you can pick any of these clusters. And then finally, powered state. So you can say, all of my machines that are on, I'd like to move them, and let's model those. So for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to pick an application. So here, what we're going to do is pick any of these apps. That's Spectrum Logic. So I'll say, add this as a new group. So I've created a new group of this application called Spectrum Logic, and I'll rename it so I can find it easily. So Spectrum Logic Custom VMUG. So here is how easy it is to create a group. And once I've created the group, I can edit it further. So I can add or remove any of the virtual machines. I can add additional virtual machines to this group. I can do a number of things. But once I've created my group, now I proceed to cloud modeling. Here we go. So here's my Spectrum Logic custom VMUG. These are other groups I've created prior, so I can pick any of these. For this instance, what I'll do is select all of them and say add to modeling group. And here it gives me the details of all of the VMs I've selected, and then the on-prem costing. And here are my 143 virtual machines. Now I'm going to say compare cloud estimates. This data that I'm showing you, by the way, is a real world environment. It's an actual customer's environment, and we have their permission to use it in our demos. So here we go. 143 virtual machines, Spectrum Logic application. Here is the on-prem detail in terms of the infrastructure supporting the machines, as well as the on-prem cost. And this is the interesting data point. Now, if you were to move your Spectrum Logic application to Amazon, on-demand, or reserved instance, this is what it will cost you monthly. This is what it is in VMC, in Azure, reserved instance, and on-demand, IBM, Google, and Oracle Cloud. You can compare it to the on-prem cost per month here. And this chart is very interesting because you can also slice and dice, and this chart gives you a lot of insights into the profile of your application. So if you were to right size in the cloud, these are the savings. So clearly the highest savings are coming in Azure Reserved Instance. You can also slice and dice by compute, storage, network costs. So your compute costs would be like this, the storage costs would be like this. Interesting factoid here is that Amazon charges low for compute but higher than the other clouds for storage. For network, Google charges the most, well, Oracle charges the most, followed by Google, and Google's compute costs are very low. For I/O, in this instance, okay, so we're under the I/O threshold for all the other clouds, with the exception of Azure and Oracle. Another interesting chart here is the as-is cost versus right-sized. So if you compare the on-prem costs with the cloud costs, you can see that if you were to move your VMs as is, you would end up paying significantly more in the cloud compared to on-prem. Whereas if you right-size, then you save a good amount. So these are interesting details. As we go further in our modeling, you will see the one-to-one mapping for each of the virtual machines that we've discovered. So as you scroll lower, you get to see the cards for all the different clouds and the flavors of the cloud. So we include on-demand, reserved instance, VMC, 3-year, 1-year on-demand, Azure on-demand and reserved instance, IBM public and private, Google predefined and custom, and Oracle Cloud. Here you also have the ability of swapping out the data center that we've picked. So we first picked the region. So within US West itself, there are 2 that you can pick from, and you can swap them out if you are so inclined, if there's a data center that's closest to you. So there's a lot of flexibility here in terms of picking and choosing exactly what area you want to model. So I'm going to pick Amazon On Demand, and at this point, our application is crunching through every virtual machine that we have discovered so far and mapping it to an equivalent and right-size option in the cloud. So here's our modeling group, 143 VMs, on-prem information. This is the cloud information. And here is the list. So here's when we are starting our bill of materials. So this is the compute equivalent, and this is the right-size equivalent. The last table here shows you the savings you will gain per month from right-sizing. And if you're wondering how we came up with this mapping, for this particular VM, the equivalent will be C5.x large, whereas the right-size equivalent is C5.large. So you can click on the configuration tab here, and then you get to see the differences between as-is and right-size. So for that first virtual machine, in the dark lettering here, the dark numbers show you the allocated resources. So 4 vCPUs, 120 gigs of storage, 8 gigs of memory were allocated to this virtual machine, but here in the light blue figures is what was actually used. So it looks like only 2 vCPUs were being consistently used, 18 gigs of storage were being used, and 4 gigs of memory were being used. So based on this data, we have right-sized this virtual machine, which gives you a saving of $72 a month. There are other machines that have an excess amount of idle capacity here. So there's a huge amount of savings you can get here. Now, after this, the next, what I also want to show you here is you can start your what if analysis here. So you can double click on this and swap this out for anything else that you would prefer. So instead of a C5 large, which we are recommending, maybe you want to pick a TCU. So like I said, the entire price book is available to you here. Maybe you want to pick a T2 large. And you saw how the prices changed right here. So you can swap out whatever we have recommended with another template of your choice. So after we've mapped the templates, the next step is to add additional cloud services. And this is where, again, the entire price book for Amazon is available at your fingertips, and you can add anything else that you want. So perhaps you want dedicated hosts, so you could add those in here. And we provide you with an easy UI where you can enter the data that we require. You add products, and there you added machine there. You can add additional storage. So maybe you want object storage, 64 gigs. So we've added that in there, a small amount. Networking, you could add load balancers or additional bandwidth above and beyond what we've calculated. So, figures here. These are the variables that Amazon uses to calculate costs, and that's exactly what we prompt you to enter. Security, so like I said, we do the mapping for security. You can add additional firewalls or additional protections, number of nodes. 10. Now we've added firewall. Similarly, databases. So perhaps you'd like some in-memory database. I'm just going to delete that. So my demo is not messed up. And then mobile services, analytics, other services. So you could order CloudWatch monitoring. So let's say add product here. Support, you do want to be ordering support from the cloud options. So we'll add that. And once you've added everything you need, you can also vary the quantity. Do that. So this is the step where you add additional cloud services that are Amazon specific. And the next step is to add other costs. Obviously, when you're migrating your workload, there are a lot of costs other than actual line items that you have to factor in, such as migration costs. So you'd enter in your migration costs here. So maybe it's costing you $50,000 to migrate. There are recurring monthly costs that we prompt you to think about, such as network access, additional administrative costs. Next, you proceed to cloud report. Here we go. So this is our final report. We've taken our application, taken a look at what it costs on-prem, and for that application group, we are now comparing the costs side by side. So currently on-prem, it costs about $38,000 or $39,000 to run that application monthly. It's going to cost you $50,000 to migrate it to Amazon. And in Amazon, if you were to choose Amazon On Demand, it would cost you about $35,000 right size. Whereas if you don't right size, it's going to cost you a lot more. If you pick reserved instance in Amazon and right size, it is going to be the cheapest option. And if you don't right size, if it's as is, this is what the cost is going to be. So this is a useful view of what it's going to cost to run that application in Amazon for various different options. As you scroll lower, you get to see more and more of the details. This is a section where you can add discounts if you get discounts, so factor that in. And then here is more detail on the cost in Amazon. So we break it up according to all the different categories that Amazon uses to invoice you. So this is a familiar table for you. And then you have your VM configuration. So for all of the 143 VMs within this modeling group, we give you all the details that we've discovered. And then you get to see the bill of materials. There you go. So for each of the virtual machines, here's the compute equivalent and the right size equivalent and the savings. So this is something you can print out. And then you get to see the advanced services that you selected and their cost, the other cloud cost, the one-time cost, and then finally the total summary. Now this summary can be exported as a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet if you want to work further on it, or if you want to share it with a larger team for discussion. You can also save the project plan in your account and then come back to it later if needed. So this is exactly how long it took for me to do the complete modeling for an environment from discovery to mapping. So you can see how quickly we do it and how simplified our interfaces considering the complexity of the mapping exercise itself. Our second product, very quickly, is for new cloud deployments. And this is a product where we don't require a discovery. Here, essentially, what we have is a product catalog that has all these different options available. So you're not parsing through all the different options. Instead, what you're doing is you're building your environment. So you can start off by saying, I'd like some compute, and I'd like the compute to be, say, serverless compute. Let's go bold and say we want something modern in the cloud. Serverless compute, and then you can say, I also want bare metal system. You can then add storage, and let's say we're adding file storage. You can add your networking options, bandwidth, your security options, DDoS protection. And similarly, you can add any number of options that we have provided for you here. Once you've added the options you're wanting to model, you move forward with configuring them. All right. So once I've entered all the configuration detail, then I get to see what the costs will be every month. So I'm looking at DDoS protection and gives me the options in the various different clouds as well as their pricing. If a cloud platform does not have the product, it points that out as well. This is what it is for serverless computing, for Lambda functions, OpenWhisk, etc. For bare metal, it says where there are no bare metal offerings, and in IBM and Oracle, there are bare metal offerings, and it shows you that. file storage costs, bandwidth, so you can see the costs laid down side by side and look at those. And then finally here you have the bill of materials summary. So if you were to pick, based on this data, if you were to pick Azure, then this is what you would use to provision your environment in Azure. So that is it. These are our two offerings. With that, I'm done with the presentation section here. And at this point, we can take questions. Okay.
You want to quickly show VMC audio?
All right. So one of the questions here is, how do we factor in cloud pricing? So because pricing changes frequently, cloud platforms are adding more resources. So that is one of the differentiators of our product, where we keep abreast of any cloud pricing changes on a daily basis. So if Amazon changes their price at a particular time, on the same day, our price book is updated. And that's because we've written hooks into all the price books, and we update our pricing once a day. So our pricing is always current. And while we're waiting for more questions to come in, I thought it'd be good to do a poll so that everybody could take a look at the poll and answer it. Pick the cloud that is the highest in your migration strategy as a priority. Okay, so
44% VMware Cloud.
interesting. Okay, so we have a huge amount of VMC people. Very good. We'll do one more quick poll, and then if we have time, I'll also give you a demo of VMC. So I'm curious, are you looking to migrate business critical applications? All right. It looks like 75% of you are planning on migrating business critical applications, which is a big shift from 3 or 4 years ago. So that's good to know. So there's a question here, can it model virtual desktops? Yes, we can. We would consider the virtual desktop as any other workload, and then we're able to model that as well. What is the cost of evaluation? So that is another question here. So I'm assuming the question there is, what is the cost of our licenses? So our license cost starts at $30 a VM, and this is a one-time fee. And then from there, depending on your volume, you get further discounts. So that's the cost of our evaluation. And at Gautam's request, I am quickly going to show modeling for VMC, and especially given the interest we are seeing on your end as well. Okay, so I'm going to select the data center. So while this is coming up, there was a question about partnership, and you asked if partners can utilize our tool. Absolutely. that is the bulk of our revenue. So we do encourage partners to use our products to do the modeling for their clients. And as a partner, you get a significant discount. So business-wise, it's really useful as well. Okay, I'm gonna have to pick a different. Don't have enough points, so bear with me. So right here, I've picked an application for modeling in VMC. VMC is an attractive platform for larger environments, over 100 virtual machines. I'm just going to pick 3 reserved instance. And then here you get to see for your 158 machines, how many hosts of VMC you need. So if you were to migrate your workload as is, you would need 19 hosts. But if you right size, you only need 4. You can also change the commit ratio here. So we use the commit ratio that we've discovered, but if you want a different commit ratio within VMC, you can vary that, and you get your updated prices. And then you get additional cloud services that you want to add. So let's go ahead and add some more storage. You can add anything else that you need here. And then you'd add other costs. Proceed to cloud report. Here you go. So for your on-prem environments, this is the on-prem cost, and here is the comparison. So if you right size, you're saving a significant amount by migrating to VMC. So this is the modeling you would do for VMC. A lot of our clients these days are comparing Amazon EC2 versus VMC, and they use our product to do that comparison in minutes. So this is VMC. Let's see if there are any other questions we should be answering. What values do you use to determine the on-prem costs for comparisons? Is this a manual entry? So what we are doing here is applying default figures, which you can then go and edit. So if you go to the edit source section here, you get to see the default costs that we've entered here. And these are your typical categories of hardware, software, maintenance, power and facilities, etc. And you can edit these over here. You can also, if your environment is very large, you can also download this and edit it offline. The download is a spreadsheet. You edit that spreadsheet and you upload it. But you can also edit the prices here, and you will see the prices change there. And apply changes. And it updates in the environment. So that's how we manage on-prem costs. With that, I just want to give you a quick view of where you can get more resources. Sorry about that. So it's ideal for cloud planning and assessment. No more cost surprises. Cost calculation is done very quickly, and we do keep current with daily changes. You can contact us at this number, and email is on our website. And there's also a free trial available for it. So a couple of quick questions too. So is Hyper-V environment supported? Absolutely, yes it is. What is the validity of the license? Once you are licensed, can you run unlimited scenarios? Absolutely. So once you have paid for the virtual machine, you can model it infinite number of times. So the example that I showed of that particular group of applications, you can model it for Amazon, for Azure, for VMC, for IBM, for Google, and you're charged only once. We are a planning tool, and we respect that in our licensing model as well. So that is it. That's all I had. Annie, if you want to take over with any closing notes.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Garima, for taking the time to speak to us today. As a reminder for everyone, you'll receive a follow-up email with the on-demand link from today's webcast. And to find out more about the VMUG webcast program, you can visit vmug.com/learn. And please make sure to complete the short online evaluation that will pop up as you exit the webcast, and let us know how you thought today's session went. And from all of us here at VMUG, thank you and have a great rest of your day.